What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Let's Talk Live. I am in the bedroom this evening. I was over just a little while ago. If you follow me, um, obviously, if you follow me through all the Karen Reed stuff that we've been doing here, um, I was at the studio tonight and kind of not really feeling too great. So I wanted to come home and just like kind of relax and do this from home. So, yep, we're in the bedroom tonight, in the bedroom, in the basement, if you want to call it that. And we're going to try to I don't know how this is going to come together. I had it like I had a really good way of how I wanted to plan out to do this, but we're going to give it a rip and see what happens here. But I want to get back into the Kohberger stuff. Obviously, it's basically how this channel got built. I guess being a true crimer and a puzzle solver, this was really the case that I was following back in 2022. And here we are 3 years later. And yes, we've invested, probably a good better of almost 2 years in the Karen Reed case because I'm so close to it and I've got really wrapped up in it. But it's nice to come back to these cases, especially the Kohberger case, since we've been getting a lot of new information. We had a bunch of new documents that dropped the other day. Obviously, we heard about some unredacted text messages between Bethany Funk and Dylan Mortensen. We heard didn't hear it, but we saw some of the transcript from the 911 call that was released. And then we had some motions in Lemonade that came out. And that was the document that I really focused on. We did the live about the 911 call. We did it about the text messages, but this kind of motion in Lemonade, I wanted to really look through it and scour through it. And I saw some things in there that I wanted to kind of put together. So what I did was, and I'll pull the motion up here in a second, was I looked at the entire motion and the things that were being called for in that document. And I wanted to map out where all the security cameras were that were in that document. So I went to Google Earth. I painstakingly put in all these addresses, labeled everything, added photos, and we're going to go through that tonight. And maybe it gives us some connection, because that has been always the conversation in the Idaho 4 cases. What is the connection to, from Brian Kohberger to the roommates? And we know one connection so far is the DNA on the knife sheath. Now, I understand this is an extremely controversial case. There are people that are very pro Kohberger, and they're pro Kohberger in the sense of he didn't do it, and he's been framed. And there's people on the other side that, this guy is guilty all the way. In my opinion, I think they have a lot on this guy. I think they're going to nail him down pretty hard. And, I'll throw out some theories tonight. Maybe you'll agree with me. Maybe you don't agree with me. That's perfectly fine. But, I like to puzzle solve, and I like to look at, what evidence and information that we get and kind of put all that together and try to piece this thing together and come up with our own theory. And then we wait for the trial and we wait to see what happens. And sometimes we're right and sometimes we're wrong, but it's always nice to go through these kind of puzzle solve it, speculate, and see what happens. But this article just dropped about 4 hours ago. I want to bring this up, and we already have a new piece of this puzzle in this case. So from Fox News, Idaho murder suspect Brian Kohberger to argue that he was framed in the college killings, prosecutor says. And I'm going to probably just play this little video here and see what we get out of this. And we'll read through some of the article here too. We're probably going to get a commercial. I knew we were. Of course, it's always a commercial. It's always a commercial. Let's skip the ad. Here we go.
Criminal defense attorney Lexi Rigdon now from RLR to the LR at issue here. And without getting too wonky, does the defense have a good argument? Should this evidence be excluded?
I'm not sure that all of the evidence would be excluded, but I think that they are trying to pinpoint the language around the evidence. What they don't want is somebody getting up on the stand and saying that the evidence was inconclusive, which could lead a jury to believe that that means that maybe his DNA was under her fingernails. I mean, just in layman's terms, these people are not scientists that are going to be deciding this. And even reading the motion, I think that the lawyer that actually even wrote the motion is a DNA expert herself, because this is very, very convoluted in terms of the science. But they don't want to confuse a jury by saying inconclusive and then have people go back in the jury room and say, well, that must mean if they can't exclude him, then he is included. But the biggest bombshell in that report was actually kind of at the end. It's almost like an afterthought in the I'm sorry, I said report, in the motion, and it said that further testing actually excluded Brian Kohberger, so that they tested that sample and he was actually excluded. So there's going to kind of be some competing testimony in the trial.
You make an important point. Science can get wonky, can get complicated for a jury. So bottom line this for us.
And there you go right there. I mean, look at the Karen Reed case. You know, when we started to get into all the science of ARCA, the jury was just like, eh. So hopefully this time around, you know, we get a jury that understands all of this, because ARCA is a key point in the Karen Reed case for the defense. All right, let's keep playing here.
Somehow this DNA evidence is excluded. Is there enough other evidence to convict, or could Kohberger actually be found not guilty of these murders?
Well, that's the $60,000 question. And he's got some very talented attorneys. He's got a lot of attorneys who represent him, even in other states, who have been allowed to participate in the proceedings. So I think this entire case really comes down to the DNA. And we've actually learned a lot through the motions. One of the things a few weeks ago that we learned just by listening to the oral argument is the defense had said that the prosecution has never said how he's actually connected with these victims. And so we learn a lot sort of by reading these filings and hearing what's being said that is not otherwise coming out. And so the DNA, either way, is going to be crucial.
Another case that really has captivated the nation: 2 suspects arrested and charged after 3 Kansas City Chiefs fans were found frozen to death last year.
Yeah, this is on too.
Really did perplex the nation. Turns out the victims did not die of what I like to refer to as voluntarily freezing themselves. They were poisoned, Lexi.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
I remember the
they were given a cocktail of drugs. I mean, they took a cocktail of drugs, but this is happening all across the country, especially with the fentanyl coming over our border. And there are a lot of states, including.
All right, let's bounce out. I wanted to play through that. So let's see. A new court filing reveals that the defense team of the Idaho College Court murder suspect Brian Kohberger is planning to argue at trial that the knife sheath found at the crime scene was potentially planted by the real killer. Interesting. I mean, this case just gets wilder and wilder. And why not throw that theory out there to defend your client, right? I mean, we know all of these new motions that are getting unsealed or partially unsealed. I kind of felt like this was going to be something that we're going to throw. And again, I've said this in the Karen Reed case too. I mean, obviously we know of, you know, the framing of Karen Reed. And I think what the Commonwealth and Hank Brennan is doing right now, and I was saying this on a previous show tonight, is that I think they have a 10-pound bag of shit and they're going to throw it against the wall and see if something sticks here. So very interesting. It says, in the state's filing released on Tuesday, prosecutors summarized a defense filing that appears to be sealed. And everything's just been unsealed. Like, why not just start unsealing these documents? Let the public know what's going on here. It just leads me to believe, I mean, I think they have a lot on this guy. And the thing that you have to always remember is that what we're seeing in these documents, what's been reported in the media, is probably only like 5% of everything that there is. We haven't even gotten the 90% yet of all of the things that possibly could connect Brian Kohberger to these students. So instead of challenging the conclusion that the DNA on the knife sheath belonged to the defendant, the defense expert disclosure revealed that the defense plans to argue that the DNA on the knife sheath does not provide defendant was ever at the crime scene, and the knife sheath itself could be planted by the real perpetrator, the filing reads. Wow. Let's see. I think we're going to get a little background. Yeah, we're going to get a background. Let's see this. It says, Idaho investigators found the 3-person mixture of DNA under 21-year-old University Idaho undergrad Madison Mogan's fingernails as she and 3 other friends were killed in her off-campus home So let's just put this in perspective. Let's say Kohberger's DNA is under the fingernails of Mogan, but then you have the two other unidentified profiles as well. So they could say, well, this guy went in, he killed them, he had Kohberger's DNA, he, left the knife sheath there and did a quick swab of the the fingernail. Let's just say it's touch DNA, whatever it may be, and then you have the two unidentified profiles. Which, I mean, she lives in a college house. She was probably out at that club, was in and around a lot of people around that grub truck that night. Could have touched anybody. So, I mean, why not just say, hey, here it is, and there's two unidentified DNA samples, and that is the real killer, or those are the real killers. So, this could be an argument that's brought up by the defense. But still, if Kohberger's DNA is under the fingernails and then you have the DNA on the knife sheath, it's kind of hard to have an argument there. So it says the FBI checked two other publicly accessible databases and ultimately led them to Kohberger. We know about this in the background. Here's the motion here. Let's see. In June of 2023, the state moved for an order of protection the information related to use of the IgG in this case. We have the SNAP profile underlining the laboratory document related to the development of the profile, such as the chain of custody forms, laboratory standard operation procedures. Let's see. The state argued that the IgG information did not fall within Rule 16. State gathered the IgG. Yeah, this is just basically how they came across the DNA. Let's see. Prosecutors are filing also quotes of the defense experts' disclosure that the prosecution says reveal Kohberger's lawyers intend to call an expert in forensic biology and DNA who will testify about the DNA found on the knife sheath. It's going to be a very interesting case. I think this case is going to be huge. I think it's going to be one of the most watched cases. Obviously, we know, Karen Reed in this area of where I am in Massachusetts is widely watched. I mean, you get this out in Idaho, and you have 4 victims in all of this. I think this is going to really be a lot of people are going to come in to watch this. And that's why I've been kind of sprinkling these shows in and just getting people familiar, getting myself familiar with the case because I've been out of it for so long. But let's pull up this motion the other day. And what I did is I went through, and if you look here, I wanted to map out where all the surveillance cameras were and just see how close and relevant to everything is. The Albertson we've heard about. That's apparently where Kohberger went shopping. And I just kind of ignored all the, Amazon, I just wanted to go and look, all right, where are all these surveillance cameras they're asking for? So again, I went to Google Earth. I started mapping all these out, and I'll show you, what I did, and maybe leads to some possibilities of where Kohberger might have had contact with these students. So let me pull this up. Let's see. So what I did was I started at the Corner Club, and obviously we know this is where pretty much everything started. And what I looked at was, all these cameras. So you have the Corner Club, you have the Grub Truck. All these are, all spots that probably have surveillance cameras that we saw some of those videos with, Kaylee and Maddie walking down the street. There was, some questions of people that came up to them. Could that have been the killer? So we saw a lot of that security video footage already, but I wanted to see how close all of this actually was. And you have the Corner Club here. So Grub Truck to the Corner Club, and then left to go back to the house. I found this interesting, that they wanted security camera footage from this Moscow bagel. And what I did was I dropped a marker outside of the street, and I wanted to see what this actually looked like. So here's that bagel shop, and where is it? Is it on this side of the street? Let's see. Let's go up a little bit and look at that. Look what's right next to it, the Mad Greek. And what did we hear about that? We heard, well, this possibly could be the area because we know that who were the two roommates? Oh God, I'm forgetting right now. Maddie and was it Kaylee? Maddie and Kaylee. And again, I'm getting refamiliar with this. Oh, look at this. I have an old friend in the chat here. Agent Chase checking in, excited to come back to the Idaho case. So Maddie and Xana, yes, thank you. I knew I could get this out. And again, I'm getting refamiliar with the case, but I found this interesting because they want the surveillance camera footage from outside of this bagel shop, and that was, apparently there was rumors that was the first contact or the first time maybe Kohberger had seen some of these some of the students, and this is what kind of draw them in. Now, I have a couple of other areas that I want to look at that I want to talk about here. And again, I had no idea how this is going to all come out, but I thought it would be interesting just to kind of map out where all this was. So obviously we have the King Road house. We'll drop into that neighborhood here. We know about all the footage that's been released, the 1330 footage, the 1320 footage. I believe there's some other footage out there that hasn't been released. I've seen some still photos out there. And then in that neighborhood, we had this convenience store as well. This was interesting. There was a cannabis shop of a camera that they wanted to look at. So I'll just drop down here. This store here had some significance. This was this surveillance camera here. So maybe they caught the white Elantra along the way that night, Kohberger driving by this particular. And I'm just thinking this is probably all the roads that he traveled. I remember this airport road in the original affidavit. So this is probably a point of where he traveled, and they caught that Elantra on camera driving out to King Road that night. Let me go back to my tab. I don't want to go to WinCo yet. I want to talk about that. Well, maybe we will. I'll kind of. So here's something very interesting that I saw, and I want to share my screen back to this. Let's see. I want to go back to the court document. Did I close it? I did. Give me a second here. Sorry, I'm super unprepared tonight. I'm usually better. It's been a while since I've done this, and I just came off I think like a 2.5 live on another channel. So I ran home. I haven't been feeling good today. I ran home, and I knew I still wanted to get this in, but it is what it is. We'll get through it. Where is the file that I wanted to pull up? I gotta find the 911. Let's see. Oh, here it is. Perfect. This is the one I wanted again. So let me pull this up. I'm not getting sick. I've had like really bad heartburn today, and just not feeling good. A sense of that, just like stomach stuff. Not like sick, but just heartburn really bad today. Okay, so what I did was I went through this document, this motion in limine, and what I looked at was, all these records that they're pulling, Amazon financial records for Kohberger. We have the AT&T phone records for Kohberger, Madison Mogen, Xana. And I'm just trying to sit and look and say, all right, what is a connection? What, you're looking at surveillance cameras they're pulling, financial records they're pulling. So could there be some type of connection here? And I want to take you all the way down to this. Let's see. I'm looking for WinCo. I think it's on the bottom here. Here it is. I found this to be interesting. If you look here, so what do we know? We know that where's the obvious connection? If he was the one that did this, where would be the obvious connection that these individuals have all been in a common area, 1122 King Road, right? So the crime happens there. If Kohberger did this, he's in that house, the students are there. That is the common area that they're in, okay? So I looked on this and I went, wait a minute, this is kind of sticking out to me. They're pulling records for WinCo Financial. They want to look at Kohberger. And then they have WinCo Financial records and video surveillance, Bethany Funk, Dylan Mortensen, Kayla Gonsalves, Madison, and Xana. And I went, huh, interesting. There's no date. There's no, on some of these other records, you look like, let's see. This is when he got pulled over. That's the citation. So if you look at where's another? Corner Club right here. Corner Club of Financial Records, Transactions, Receipts. They have a date, November 13, 2022, right here, Costco. And Costco surveillance video of November 13, 2022. Well, there's no date. So I'm going to myself, well, could this possibly be a connection? Could Kohberger have been inside that WinCo? I think it's right here. I think it's this big building. Yeah, it's probably in this plaza. And I'm thinking to myself, could he have been inside this WinCo at the same time as these students? And this is where he makes that first contact. Because why would they want to pull financial records of Kohberger, but then pull all the surveillance video of all the students in that house and their financial records? And I said, this possibly could be the first time that he spotted one of them or a few of them. They could have been in there shopping, and he caught their eye. And then maybe he started looking, researching and trying to find out, who these girls were. Where are they? And this might have been maybe a first initial contact. It's a possibility. So we heard about the Mad Greek. I found this to be interesting. And again, I'm just throwing things out there. I don't know if I'm right, I'm wrong, but I do think that we're going to find out, obviously, in this, what the connection is. Possibly could be. So what I wrote, I threw this out on Twitter the other night, and I said, hear me out for a second. Let's see. Hear me out for a second. There's a lot of confusion surrounding the Idaho 4 case, and there are so many unanswered questions. As more documents are released, it only adds to the mystery of what is the connection might have been between Brian Kohberger and the Idaho students. Tonight, while going through newly unsealed motions in limine, I noticed something interesting. A lot of surveillance footage gathered during the investigation comes up from shopping centers where people typically buy food or clothing. These locations are all in close proximity to both WSU and the King Road house, meaning Kohberger and the students would have access to these places. One specific location mentioned in the document that caught my eye was the attention of WinCo in Moscow, Idaho. WinCo is an employee-owned 24-hour supermarket chain offering discounted grocery, bulk foods, deli, and bakery. The documents requested WinCo financial records for Brian Kohberger and WinCo financial records and video surveillance for Dylan Mortensen, Bethany Funk, Kayla Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, and Xander Knodel. While the document does give a specific date, could this be the first time Kohberger came in contact with one or all of the roommates? Maybe he saw one of all of them for the first time and something about them caught his attention. The reason I'm saying this is that WinCo seems to be the only common location outside King Road, the King Road house, which is the crime scene, where all these individuals might have been in the same area at the same time per the court document. Again, anything is possible at this point, and it's just a thought. So another theory that I was throwing out there. Let's see what the chat is saying. Mary says, yeah, it was off the side of that plaza on Farm Road. So let's see. Jersey Bread said there's no connection between him or the girls in any social media. Well, if you're going to kill someone, why? And this guy is pretty methodical, knows his way around, crime psychology. Why would you do all the typical things? Lauren says, why is BK being framed? What is the motive for that? Why don't they want to find the real killer? Let's see. Oh, Coffee Cake says it was the Aryan Brotherhood, the Fetty brothers. And it's because Xana's mom, Maddie's stepdad, and the confidential informants. I see you, Farley. So let me ask you this. I know there's been a lot of really crazy theories about this. The drug theory, there was like the tunnel theory that there was tunnels under the house. Let's just use, I always say this too, simple logic, okay? Don't you think that almost after 3 years that the FBI, law enforcement, and whoever it may be, private investigators, all of that, don't you think that they would have explored all those angles and would have probably come up with something at this point if there were other people that were involved in this or did this? Like, seriously, I'm just saying, use simple logic in this. They had almost 3 years to go through all of this. And the way that I look at it is defense is really trying to knock out a lot of this stuff. DNA evidence. They're going to challenge the knife sheath now and say that it's, it was planted. And I think, again, they're just throwing a 10-bag pound of shit against the wall and seeing what's going to stick. I don't know. I think they have a lot. I think the geofencing is going to come out, banging off all those cell towers in and around that area. We know that he was in and around the area at least 12 times before that. This video is crazy too. Let me play this really quick. There was rumors that he returned to the scene. A lot of people think that this is him. And I'm just going to play through here.
North Idaho, where 4 University of Idaho students were found dead in an off-campus house yesterday morning. Today, both the university and police identified the students who were killed. 3 of them are from Idaho. Our Andrew Bartline just arrived on scene a short time ago. So, Andrew, tell us what you're seeing and hearing now here live in Moscow.
Well, Doug, we'll start by kind of getting
Here's the thing, too, that I always laugh about. Everybody says, well, they framed him. How could they frame him? The DNA that was left on that knife sheath led them to him. They didn't even know about Kohberger until they had the DNA evidence and processed it. So how would they know? And then, so in order to frame him, and I love this one, the law enforcement framed him, they would literally have to go somewhere, get his DNA, seal it, wipe it on a knife sheath, leave it at the crime scene, and then process it and say, yeah, that's him. That seems very illogical.
Our bearings here. This is the corner of King
I
and
think they're
Queen
gonna
in
nail
Moscow.
this
Now,
guy.
if our photojournalist Troy wants to pan for a second in this direction,
This is
you
wild.
can see the water tower. That's kind of where the heart of campus is here at the U of I. So this is just adjacent to it. Now, this is the house where this has happened. It's all blocked off with police tape. We can see there's one Moscow police car over in the corner, kind of near the end of the house there. And there is a Moscow police officer in that car. We've kind of seen him get in and out of his car and float around. But of course, we're not getting a ton of information right now. We do know, as you
I'll
said,
throw
Doug,
this out there too. For an innocent guy, he sure loves to spend a lot of time in jail cells. Because if I knew that I was 100%, 1,000% innocent, 100%, 1,000% innocent in all of this, why is he not doing any media? Why isn't he putting any quotes out to the media? Why is he not screaming at the top of his lungs from a jail cell, I did not do this? I don't know.
4 people dead, all students here at the University of Idaho. It is being investigated as a homicide. This was sort of discovered yesterday around noon when police responded to a call of an unconscious person. When they arrived on scene, they seen that there are 4 students that are dead. There's no suspect at this time. The latest we've heard from Moscow police, they do not believe.
We know he went back to the area. He was back in the area. Watch up here. Watch. Keep your eyes up here.
Active threat out to the community
about
either. Now, we have these names and we can release some free guys right now if we want to throw up a graphic that makes it a little bit easier to digest It's Ethan Chapin, a 20-year-old from Conway, Washington. Madison Mogan, a 21-year-old from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Xana Kernoodle, a 21-year-old from Avondale, Arizona, but we do know that she originally is from Post Falls, Idaho. And then Kaylee Goncalves, 21-year-old from Rathdrum, Idaho. We talked with a student who lives right next to this house where this happened. She had no idea that any of this happened the night of. She says that the next day they saw these police cars out, and everybody in that house, 6 people live there.
See it?
Next day they saw these police cars out, and
look at that. White Hyundai Elantra.
Everybody in that house, 6 people live
comes
there.
Back
They've
around,
all since gone home.
crazier.
Her and her last roommate were the last 2 to leave. She says that's the same for all the houses in this block, in and around this area of town. These students are going home early for Thanksgiving break after talking with their parents and deciding that that's how they feel most safe and most comfortable. So a lot of people going home early. There is a vigil.
Speed up
the
here.
immediate community, but have you
watching the background again, right here?
No, and I think that's the part that makes this most confusing right now. In terms of information we've been able to get confirmed, the police department does not believe that there is a current ongoing
right there. Jesus Christ. Look at this.
Threat.
Look at
People do not have to shelter in place, according to the police. But they also say that they don't exactly have a suspect narrowed down right now. So it is a little bit of confusing or seemingly conflicting information trying to put.
Wild. All right, I'll throw another theory at you. And I've talked about this a lot, and I actually had a Verizon wireless specialist on my channel. And this is back December 25th, 2023. And this was my Bluetooth speaker theory, because we heard a lot about a Bluetooth speaker. And I said, could this be another possible connection? Does this nail them down into the house at that time? Let's play through this.
Say it there.
February 10th.
We didn't say it for 4 months, but now we know. Source close to the investigation saying a Bluetooth speaker was discovered by the police in
I'll check it out.
Kaylee's room. I want to bring in our senior national correspondent, Brian Enton, on this. Brian,
Here's Daddy.
There's so little that we know about the actual investigative pieces inside the house. We have the affidavits. We have a brief narrative, like a little tippy top of the mountain, right? Affidavits are giant. There's so much that could be in them, but the probable cause doesn't have to be, right? You can just give enough to get an arrest. You don't have to give the whole narrative.
Thank you, Thank you for being
That's
here.
for later.
Thank you so much.
So the fact that we know that there's this device mere feet from where these girls were killed, from where that killer walked, and probably even closer, because that's where Murphy was closed in. It's a significant piece of the puzzle.
It is. It's really interesting, Ashley. I've been hanging on your every word. And it's interesting, while you were explaining it all, I pulled my phone out, and because I thought to myself when we first started talking about it, I'm like, oh, you just put your phone on airplane mode. He probably did that, allegedly, because police say that he did that in other instances with his phone. So I put my phone on airplane mode sitting right here, and I'm no expert, but I noticed the Bluetooth stayed on. The Bluetooth stayed on, which made sense, because when I go on the plane and I put my phone on airplane mode, I can still use my AirPods. So yes, this could be really, really significant.
Great.
And you make a good point. I mean, just because it's not in any of the paperwork we've seen so far, they only really had to put the bare minimum in some of that paperwork. And the FBI was out there. We saw them every day. And they would be the ones probably going and trying to match up some of these devices. So it's really interesting.
Merry Christmas,
so here's the
my
thing.
brother.
We now know for sure
everything
that Kaylee had a Bluetooth speaker in her room.
Quick. Isaiah, Merry Christmas, bro. Yeah, so Kaylee had a Bluetooth speaker in her room.
Wireless headsets, laptops, iPads, tablets, Kindles, computer printers, smartphones, of course, because they have AirDrop, Apple Watches, TVs, speakers, cable boxes, video game controllers, washers, dryers, refrigerators. I mean, if you've got one of these souped up new appliances, they've even got Bluetooth and even air conditioning.
Hey man, I'm just letting you know, I had COVID really bad at this time. I remember still. So we're going to get to a point here. What I'm talking about is, and you'll see kind of what I'm doing here.
And it was on.
They talked about this Bluetooth speaker. And what I'm getting to the point is, if let's say Kohberger had his phone, or let's just even say he had his phone, he went down there to surveil the house at some certain point. He had his Bluetooth on. What happens is your Bluetooth makes handshakes, and I can kind of show you right now as what I'm getting at. and it's turned on. It's a low radio frequency, and it's kind of pinging all of the things that are in and around your room. So I have all those things it's trying to make a connection with right now. So if this clown went out and kept his Bluetooth on, and Kaylee's speaker is in her room, or we even saw a video when they had the noise complaint. It was back in August. I think it was an August 21st video, a few months before the killings. There was a huge speaker that was in near the King Road house inside a slider, and that could have been her speaker. So let's say Kohberger walks up, and I think the connection, you have to be like 150 yards or 150 feet from the actual device to connect to it. Let's say he comes up to that slider, the speaker is there. It's probably the power's on. There's students, they probably leave it on. And he could have came up to that slider, had his Bluetooth on, and bang, it made its connection. So that could have been a way that they caught him inside the house. Or let's just say that Bluetooth speaker's in a room. He turns it off in airplane mode, but Bluetooth would still work. He goes into that room and makes a connection. And the reason we know, which I thought that it did make a connection, and I'm going to play a small video of Steve and Christy Gonzalez speaking about things that that law enforcement hung on to for a very long time. And I found it very odd that they hung on to Kaylee's Bluetooth speaker for quite a while. And I said, this could be a connection. Let's ton of nuggets in this. A ton of nuggets.
There
check that out. Let's see, because I was reviewing it, trying to get to the spot. Let's back up just a little bit.
I feel I have to be there for Kaylee. I feel like I have to.
Thank you, Jeannie.
Like,
thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
Now.
Luna's mom
like,
with
like, she went.
Oh, look at this.
That.
I'll check it out.
We can be there.
Check that out after. Look at the young jerk's note on the Canton Community Voices about the TB thing. This is a year ago. Yeah, I mean, I was just getting into the let's see. No, God, this is 2 years ago. I was just getting into Karen Reed then, into the Karen Reed case. Look at that.
Sure that
but I think hearing the details, if they come out, or I mean, the prosecution's got to paint a picture. Even the picture that they paint, I mean, it's probably going to be fairly accurate, I would think,
but
for the most part.
We could talk to Thompson, the prosecution, and say, hey, all you have to do is look at us and we can leave.
There's just no way that a ton of stuff is going to come out. I think a ton. And sometimes I just lay in bed and think about that.
Yeah, they're going to retrace his steps. People are going to be shocked about how sophisticated this investigation was. I think the caste system, what I've seen of that, is going to blow people away. The tilting of the phone, all that stuff now can be used to.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you too, for my Karen Reed supporters here and followers, I think this time around you're going to hear a lot about John's phone. And he just said it, how the phone was tipped, how the telemetry of the phone. I think we're going to hear about temperature. I think we're going to hear a lot of that stuff.
Give a picture that people don't realize. So I think there's some brilliant people working on this case. And
yeah, I'm just going to pull this up really quick and recognize this. Cheryl says, question, please. I was so sick. I want to get to right here. Let's see. Speed up a little bit more.
The verdict.
I think the details are going to be what led up to it, or when he got eyes on him, or one of them, or anything like that. You can't get somebody to get on that MO with you. No way.
All right. So I went back a little too far, but we're going to get to the point. I just want to take a quick. Let's see. It's on me.
In the courtroom. He just has to say,
don't know how my sheet got there. I mean,
if he pled guilty and said, I'll plead guilty in exchange.
Did I pass it, Carrie? Am I in the right area here? Let's see.
At least we can be there to make sure that it.
But I think hearing the details, if they come out, or I mean, the prosecution's got to paint a picture. Even the picture that they paint, I mean, it's probably going to be fairly accurate, I would think, for the most part.
We could talk to Thompson, the prosecution, and say, hey, all you have to do is look at us and and we can leave.
There's just no way that a ton of stuff is going to come out. I think a ton. And sometimes I just lay in bed and think about that.
Yeah, they're going to retrace
oh.
his steps. People are going to be shocked about how sophisticated this investigation was. I think the caste system, what I've seen of that, is going to blow people away. The tilting of the phone, all that stuff now can be used to give a picture that people don't realize. So I think there's some brilliant people working on this case, and they're going to lay out a full picture of things that lay out to a point where you're going to walk through this and you're going to relive it. And that will, I think it'll be pretty clear by the end of the case, the verdict.
I think the details are going to be what led up to it, or, you know, when he got eyes on him, or one of them, both of them, someone,
this again?
How he picked that. I mean, I think it's just going to be very haunting, very just
laptop and a couple of things.
Right here it is. We're talking about that Bluetooth speaker. Yeah, let's talk about that really quick. That yeah, she got a little bit cray. She got a little cray. I had to kind of tell her that she's being very inappropriate. She got a little cray. And I had to kind of put my foot down, and she's being very inappropriate behind the scenes. And it was not good. It was very inappropriate. Very inappropriate. All right. This is what I was talking about, the Bluetooth speaker.
anything else that like you guys are like, oh my gosh, I'd love to have.
We asked for a list of the things that they had to take.
Right here.
Because we know of some things like a laptop, an Apple laptop, and a couple of things. We couldn't even get them to give a list. So
Of things that they had. And I mean, maybe it sounds stupid, but I don't really know why Kaylee's phone is evidence. Like, what is on? So it makes me think, what is on it?
Yeah, that makes you go cuckoo.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like, okay, what is on it?
The speaker.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. This is what I've been waiting for 10 months for this to be confirmed. This is what I've been waiting for 10 months for someone to say something about this speaker. And he said it, and I went, holy shit. In February of 2023, this was the first time a source said that there was a speaker. And this now makes all sense to me. We talked about it at the very beginning of this. If Kohberger was in and around that neighborhood, there is a possibility that his phone connected to Kaylee Gonzalez's speaker. Or at least handshake. Or he's screwing around with his phone and connected to it by accident. Yeah. They're going to have a digital trail of that. Yeah. And Micro is actually in here confirming all of that. So this makes sense. Even if it didn't connect that night. But here's the kicker, even better than that. Let's say we know he was down in that area 12 times. Yeah. Let's say the one time his phone connects with that speaker. And on the night he goes back there to commit the murders. And he has his phone in his pocket. And he thinks he's so smart, having it in airplane mode. Bluetooth he goes into that house and it reconnects to that speaker because it had already been there before. Yeah. It knew. Like we talked about. Yeah. When you go to a hotel and you stay there, and you connect to the Wi-Fi or the Bluetooth, and you leave and you come back and maybe vacation there again, it's going to try to remember that. It's going to try to handshake those devices. Yeah, it's called handshaking. So this was a good little theory we came up with. And I remember Laura, my friend Laura's here, and maybe she can get me caught up. She'll come back sometime and maybe jump on the live with us. But Laura and I used to do lots of lives on Idaho 4 stuff. We had it pretty nailed down for a while. And again, I've been out of it for a while, so I'm refreshing on the case. I just think it's funny that the people that come in here and just seeing the battles in the chat about this, it's crazy. And I just hope it really kicks back up again, because this is a very important case. You know, I feel bad for these families, these victims, all the shit they've had to go through for the last 3 years, you know, and hopefully this is going to kick off in August, because they've just been waiting, and we need to know if this guy did it or not. Again, you know, I have a pretty strong feeling they got the goods on this guy, and a lot of people, you know, disagree with me, and that's fine. You can disagree, but this was another theory that we came up with. And the funny thing about it, the text message theory, my friend Laura here used to come up on the panel, and we had the text almost down to the T, the text message theory. What, Laura, over a year ago we did that live, and we nailed that down, that Bethany and Dylan were texting. Remember when we figured out that moment? And I was like, they were texting. You were like, they were texting. It was like, bingo. Yeah. And no one had talked about that. No one had talked about it. And I have things on my channel about that. I think we did over like 300 lives on this case, but it's been fun to kind of jump back into it and get familiar with it again. I didn't know how this was going to turn out tonight. I just wanted to come on and show you what I've been kind of working on behind the scenes. Laura, I'll share that Google Earth with you if you're interested in it. Just send me an email. I'll drop my email in the chat. And send me an email there, Laura, and I'll get you that Google Earth. You can look at it. So I don't know. It's kind of late. I'm tired. I wasn't going to do a super long live. Probably one of the more lazier ones. I had a very better expectation of how it was going to turn out, but I'm really tired. I'm not feeling well. So probably going to head out here, get some rest. I'm going to be back on, what's tomorrow? Thursday, Friday. I don't know. Maybe in the next 3 days we'll have a live. I know I'm definitely coming back on Sunday, and Boston Mike will be joining me. We'll be talking about the Karen Reed case again. And then Monday, the 17th, my birthday, my friend Laura is going to finally be well enough to come join me in the studio. And we're going to do some Karen Reed stuff on that day and have fun and celebrate my birthday. So that'll be fun. So I'm going to head out. I know this is a short live. I'm sorry if it was kind of choppy and not typical of my kind of nailed down presentations, but again, just wanted to create some content, revisit this case, and we'll keep coming back around to it. It's been hard because I've been so wrapped up in the Karen Reed case for so long now, and it's been tough to come back and kind of do this, get the energy up for it. But again, I think there's going to be a lot of things. I think Judge Hippler is going to start unsealing a lot of this stuff and making it public. And once that starts happening, I think it's going to give us a little bit more of a a case, start putting a case together and some theories. But it's been crazy. So I'm going to head out. Thank you all for watching this. I'll be back, probably in the next couple of days here. I know definitely Sunday is going to be planned down, and then on Monday, Laura, my friend Lauren will be in the studio. So anyway, yeah, a little lazy, a little choppy, but I don't know. I could have went through the Google Earth stuff a little bit more, but anyway, it is what it is, right? Okay, I'm going to head out. Thank you all for watching this evening. We'll be back this week. If you didn't have the opportunity to, please go over and check out on the Young Jerks channel. We did a major fundraiser for Karen Reed and Turtle Boy tonight. You're going to want to check out that live. It was hilarious. It was tons of fun. We had some great people on the panel. Kelly Reed joined us for a little while, which was great. So I'm gonna head out. I'm gonna get some rest. I'm tired. I have to work tomorrow, and I hope everybody is well. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. God, this case brings up a lot of controversy. People get very mad about it, and maybe we could start getting some bigger crowds in here and talking about this stuff. So we'll see what happens. Talk to everybody soon. Have a good night. Bye.